The last time I saw my wife alive, she was standing in the doorway, bathed in the warm yellow light of our home, waving goodbye with a smile that could have powered the whole city. Elena. Her name was Elena. The police report called her the victim. The news anchors called her the deceased. I just called her my everything. They found her car abandoned down by the old shipyards, the driver's side door open, her purse gone, a single dark stain on the upholstery that told the whole story. The official conclusion was a carjacking, a random act of savage, pointless violence. They offered me counseling and platitudes. I drank bourbon and plotted. For a year, I was a ghost in my own life. I went to work. I paid the mortgage. I stared at the walls. The case grew cold, the detectives moved on, and the world forgot about Elena. But I didn't. The grief was a constant, aching hum. But beneath it, a colder, harder thing was taking shape. A resolve as sharp and unyielding as a shard of glass. The system had failed. If there was to be any justice, I would have to become the system. The break came from a place I least expected. A buddy from my old Army unit, a man named Javier who now worked in private security, called me. "David," he said, his voice always calm, always measured. "I heard about Elena. I'm sorry it took me so long to reach out. I was overseas. Listen, I might have something. It's thin, but it's something." He'd been doing some contract work for the city, reviewing cold case evidence on an unrelated matter, and Elena's file had crossed his desk. He noticed something everyone else had missed. A traffic camera a block away from the shipyards had captured a blurry image of a car, a dark sedan, pulling out of a side street just minutes after the estimated time of the crime. The plate was mostly obscured, but Javier, with his access to software I couldn't even name, had cleaned it up. The car was registered to a man named Robert Vance. The name meant nothing to me. He was a small-time contractor with a few minor arrests for assault and bar fights. A brute, a nobody. But when Javier dug deeper, he found a connection that turned my blood to ice. Vance had done some renovation work on the home of my business partner, Carl, just a few months before Elena was killed. Carl. The man who had stood by my side at the funeral, his arm around my shoulders, his face a perfect mask of shared sorrow. The pieces, once scattered and meaningless, began to click into a horrifying picture. Carl and I had been butting heads for months over the future of our company. He wanted to sell out to a larger predatory corporation. I refused, knowing it would cost our employees their jobs. Elena had been fiercely on my side. The sale would have made Carl a multi-millionaire. With her gone, my will to fight was shattered. I'd have given him anything just to make the noise stop. I'd signed the papers a month after her funeral. It wasn't a random carjacking. It was a hit. A calculated, cold-blooded removal of an obstacle. My wife, my brilliant, beautiful Elena, had been reduced to a business negotiation. The rage that filled me was different this time. It wasn't the hot, blinding fury of the first few months. This was a cold, focused, and patient thing. I wouldn't confront him. I wouldn't go to the police with my flimsy theory. Carl was rich, connected. He'd weave a story, his lawyers would bury the connection, and I'd be the crazy, grieving husband. No. I needed him to confess. I needed to look him in the eye and watch him admit what he'd done. The plan took shape over weeks, a meticulous blueprint for ruin. I reached out to Vance first. I found him in a grimy bar on the wrong side of town, a hulking man with dead eyes. I didn't threaten him. I offered him a deal. I had cash, a lot of it. The money from the sale of the company Carl had forced through. I told him I knew what he'd done for Carl, and that Carl was planning to tie up loose ends. I showed him doctored emails I'd created, suggesting Carl was arranging for his demise. "He's going to kill you, Vance. I can give you enough money to disappear. All I want in return is a recorded statement. You give me Carl on a tape, and you get a new life." Fear is a powerful motivator. Vance, for all his brutality, was not a sophisticated man. He saw the logic. He took the money, and 2 days later, a small encrypted audio file arrived on my phone. His gruff voice laid it out plainly. Carl had hired him to stage a carjacking and make the wife disappear. The payment, the meeting places, the instructions. It was all there. It was compelling, but it was just the word of a convicted thug. I needed more. I invited Carl to my house, the house he hadn't set foot in since the funeral. I told him I was struggling, that I was having second thoughts about selling my remaining shares, that I needed his counsel. The vanity of it, the sheer, stupid ego of the man, ensured he would come. He arrived, all false sympathy and expensive cologne. "David, this house, it's so good to see you here. It holds so many memories." The hypocrisy was so thick I could taste it. I led him to my study, the room where Elena and I would read together in the evenings. I poured us both a drink, my hand steady. I had placed recorders all over the room. We made small talk, and I let him believe I was a broken man. Then I shifted. "Carl," I began, my voice soft, weary, "I've been having these dreams about Elena. They're so vivid." He shifted uncomfortably. "That's natural, David. The grieving process. In them, she's trying to tell me something," I continued, cutting him off. "She's pointing at something. At first, I thought it was the car, but it's not. It's a person." I looked directly at him. "She's pointing at you, Carl." He froze, his glass halfway to his lips. A flicker of panic in his eyes, quickly masked by condescending concern. "David, you're not well. The stress, the trauma. You're imagining things. I found a man named Robert Vance," I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. "He remembers you quite well." That did it. The mask shattered. His face went pale. "I don't know who you're talking about." "He does. He told me everything. How you paid him. How you gave him Elena's schedule." I leaned forward, my gaze locking with his. "He's in protective custody now. He made a full statement to a friend of mine in the DA's office. They're drawing up the warrants as we speak. It was a bluff, a massive, all-or-nothing gamble. But the human mind, when cornered, seeks the nearest exit. Carl's mind, riddled with guilt and fear, found one. He was supposed to just scare her." The words exploded from him, a torrent of desperate self-justification. "Just rough her up a little, make her back off the merger. The stupid brute went too far. It was an accident. Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I wanted any of this? It was a business decision that got out of hand." The room was silent. The only sound was the soft, almost imperceptible whir of the digital recorder in the desk drawer. I felt a profound, terrifying stillness settle over me. I had it. The confession. The proof. I stood up slowly, walked to the desk, and opened the drawer. I took out the recorder and held it up, the tiny red light a glaring eye in the quiet room. Carl's face collapsed. He looked from the recorder to my face, and he saw no grief, no rage, only a cold, final judgment. "David, for God's sake, we're friends." "We were," I said, my voice flat and empty. "Before you had my wife murdered." I didn't touch him. I didn't need to. I walked to the door and opened it. 2 of Javier's associates, men who looked every bit the part of federal agents, were standing on my porch. As they led a stunned, silent Carl away, I stood in the doorway, just as Elena had that last night. The trial was swift. The recording, backed by Vance's testimony and the financial trail Javier helped me uncover, was undeniable. Carl was convicted of murder for hire and sentenced to life without parole. The world saw it as a shocking story of corporate greed. I saw it as a simple equation, finally balanced. I never got Elena back. The silence in our house is still there, but the anger is gone. Sometimes the law moves too slowly for the weight of a broken heart. True justice is a quiet thing, measured not in years behind bars, but in the perfect final click of a recorder stopping.